All right. Hello and happy Monday to everyone. We are live in the Women Over 50, a Life Redesigned group, which is super exciting. We're loving doing our Money Mondays here.
Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Barb Provo, founder of Surgery. And my audio is a little crazy today. Sorry about that.
We're so excited to have our First Strings Approved professional, Terri, here. Terri, and you're coming in from Atlanta, Georgia, correct?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here, and I am speaking to you live from Atlanta, the Buckhead community.
Boy, you've got the energy this morning, Terri.
Yes.
I love it. Yes.
I'm looking at my view out here. It is gorgeous. The sun is shining. I probably should set my laptop over there just so you can see like all the greenery. It is gorgeous today. It's just nothing but treetops. We call it the canopy city because of the mature trees and the beautiful treetops. So I'm on the 20th floor. I have nothing but blue sky and green treetops.
Oh, beautiful.
Going to Georgia.
Yes, come and visit me.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That sounds beautiful.
Georgia's open, y'all. There's no, they act like there's no COVID here, so we're wide open.
Just disappeared.
Went away.
Awesome.
Well,
Purse Strings is here every week to give some free financial education, very different things from either Medicare to real estate. Last week we did some fashion and redoing your closet on a budget. And so we just love being here, giving women financial education to empower themselves. And then we always recommend that when you need to use a financial provider, whether that's a real estate, an attorney, a financial advisor, to use a Purse Strings approved provider because they are here willing to support you. They will listen to you and look at you and listen to your unique needs, which is pretty amazing. So they've all been vetted by us, and Terri is, of course, one of our approved professionals. And, so yeah, we really love having all the professionals who are ready and willing to serve the female market, which is fantastic. So we'll wait a couple more minutes to see if anyone jumps on, any other people jump on, and then we can get started.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah,
I'm jealous of a sunny day.
I know. I think the sun is trying to come out here in Chicago. I think it is. Yay.
What's the temperature in Chicago? I have a brother in Chicago.
50-ish.
He says, you know what? That's a really good day for me, 50. 70 is a really good day for me. When he said 50, I'm like, 50? Ugh. Yeah, I just have like a light sweater. I have a short sleeve sweater and a vest. That's a great day in Chicago. It's like, okay.
So I think over, when, we're out of the 0, 35 degrees, like 50 is balmy. We're like, yeah, let's get out there.
Yeah.
So let me give an intro to Terri, and then I'll let her get started.
Okay.
So her passion shines through in every transaction, whether it be buying or selling or both at the same time, which is really her specialty. She's a problem solver, and she doesn't rest until everything is working the way that it should. If something is wrong, she doesn't rest until she's found the solution to make the deal work. She wants each and every one of her clients to be satisfied. Buying or selling real estate is such a personal transaction, and being a confident and trusted partner to her clients is vital for her. Her goal is that all of her clients, past and future, know that she's there for them and for a resource, whatever and wherever and whenever they need it.
Yes.
So with that, I'll pull up your slides and give you the floor.
Thank you. All right. So we are talking about a life redesign, ladies, through real estate. So I'm excited to look at the top 3 things that we're going to discuss. This is going to be on our next slide. So what would your next option be? Are you looking to make a solo purchase? Are you looking to make another purchase, but you and your spouse or just yourself only? Are you an empty nester looking to possibly downsize? And because the kids are gone, you may downsize in the city you're in. Should you relocate in the U.S.? Should you relocate out of the country? Maybe you're looking to upsize that dream home you have desired. You're ready to make that move. Whatever it is, your next option. We're going to talk about that today as you look at your life redesigned through real estate. Now, the next slide, We're going to break down looking at your purchase solo. What does this look like for you? Let's say you are a first-time buyer. It's been on your bucket list to purchase a home, and you've not had the chance to do that yet. How do you go about that? What do you do? How do you find the opportunities for that? Well, it's really important to identify any of the resources in your community. What do I mean by that? Making sure you find the right kind of lender who has access to down payment money if you don't have it. There are tools and resources out there to be used. There are some funding companies that have their own in-house program. They have investors that do contribute who can use it as a tax write-off, so that's an option. There could be money in your state. I know here in Georgia, there's Georgia Dream. Anyone can have access to it as long as they meet the financial guidelines. It's used through every owner, or it's an own opportunity to everyone throughout the entire state. Another incentive is identifying emerging communities. What does that mean? So we usually hear about neighborhoods that have been gentrified, that are transitioning. Those are communities oftentimes that have funds that are still available. The funds can be used for people who are actually living in those neighborhoods to allow them to remain and to make them homeowners. So there are some communities where they help you transition from rental to home ownership. And there are also other neighborhoods and communities where they give you an incentive to come into an emergent community. They want to have people who have a strong history of home ownership or the potential to be a great contributor to that community. Usually that kind of product or loan or down payment or grant could be in the form of what they call a deed rider at the time of closing. That document is attached to the person's actual security deed or warranty deed for the title of the home. Usually the programs have a time period in which you have to stay there. It could be anywhere from 3, 5 to maybe 10 years. What happens if you move before that time is up? Don't worry. Whatever the net proceeds are to you, that portion you owe is returned back to them. Not all the money, just a portion. So let's say you had a 10-year grant opportunity and it was waived after 10 years, or for some reason in 5 years you have to sell, you only owe the balance. So let's say they gave you 10, then you only owe $5,000. So that's a great opportunity or things to consider if you're buying for the first time and you're kind of nervous. Another tool that you have disposal at your job is if you have a 401k. That 401k during the CARES Act of last year allows you to tap into those funds to use them for home ownership, be it your down payment or your closing costs, because we know it's a seller's market. Sellers don't want to pay closing costs. And that's the cost that you incur because of the cost of doing the loan origination, some prepayment costs, your insurance, your taxes, all of that adds up, and you can help offset that cost by using your 401k with no penalty, and that's the blessing. I don't think it's ever happened in the history of having 401k, so I advise everyone, please take advantage of it. It is a great, great opportunity to help you with ownership if that is a goal you have.
Terri, if someone was looking to do something like this or was looking to get one of these loans, would they go through you to do that or a different professional?
You actually go through different professionals. That person is considered to be a loan officer. So you would have a lender or loan officer. And where do you find them? The best resource is to check with friends and family who've used somebody they're happy with, or you can shop around and ask your real estate agent that you've interviewed who's a short list they would refer, or check with your bank, as sometimes with some what you call credit unions. Personally and professionally, I really prefer that you find a mortgage broker. They have more options for you to choose from, and they usually have access to down payment options. So thank you for asking that, Maggie. I appreciate that. So we're going to go into the next slide. Knowing the different types of loans that you're going to get from the loan officer are very key. So you got FHA, conventional, jumbo, and hard money. Now, through hard money in the mix, we're going to get to the reason why I added that. But the others you're familiar with, and also I don't have it on the slide, but VA. So I'm going to talk about VA and FHA. They're both government-backed loans. FHA is definitely a government-backed loan where the requirement is that the house has to be move-in ready. VA is also a government-backed loan, and it's specifically for veterans that have served in the military. And they have also strict appraisal guidelines, just like FHA. They're looking out for the best interest of the consumer. You want to make sure that the house is move-in ready, that everything is in order. There's no problem with carpets, painting, roof, plumbing, electrical, all of that. So the appraisals is a little bit more stringent for FHA and VA versus the conventional loan. Conventional has required a higher credit score. FHA, depending on the guidelines for the underwriting or that lender, it could be as low as 580 up to 640. Usually about 700 or higher are conventional loans. Now the down payment on the cost for FHA is 3.5%. But for those with a great credit score doing conventional, you have the option of either 3, 5, or 10 with a great credit score. They're not as stringent with the repair or the care of the home. As long as the buyer can show they have the money in the reserves, they're good to go. What is a jumbo loan product? It is a tool that's used more for luxury houses. You're going to find that the consumer may put like 20% down. It could have a higher rate or certain conditions to purchase that property, usually $500,000 and above. I threw out hard money lending because sometimes a lot of us ask our friends and family for advice, sometimes before we go to professionals. And I want to throw this word out here just because some of you may have heard of it and you know that people have used it. Traditionally, that is a tool used for the sole purpose of flipping houses. But I know some people have used it as an entry level to get into a home until they could get their credit in order and then refinance out of that loan. Usually people who do that tool have the intention of only having it for a total of 6 months. And then they plan to get out of it on the 6th month because usually you have to pay it in full. That's when it balloons. So make sure you understand the terms that are required along with that particular loan. We're going to head to the next slide. Purchasing again. Sometimes the content here or some things you're going to hear are going to be similar to what I talked about earlier, purchasing solo. When I mentioned purchasing again, you see the caveat here is it could be that you're purchasing after divorce, after being widowed. You may not want to stay in the home or may want to move close to family but want your own place, or you and your spouse were hit by a foreclosure. Anytime you buy in today's market, you're considered a first-time buyer if you have not purchased in the last 3 years. So that's very important. So you cannot have owned a home or purchased a home in the last 3 years to be considered a first-time home buyer. You would still identify the same tools we talked about earlier, identifying a loan officer who has access to down payment programs, CHOA. They may be connected with their state. Here in Georgia, we call it Georgia Dream. And sometimes some cities like City of Atlanta, they have Invest Atlanta. They have all these incentives to give buyers to move into neighborhoods or just to help with home ownership. Sometimes the listing services, you may have heard of that, the MLS. That is the tool that real estate agents use to identify properties for sale. Sometimes the MLSs will identify which properties qualify for down payment assistance and which programs are available. It's very important that if you're looking to get that help, you need to shop and ask for it now. I'm looking at my watch. We're in the middle of spring market. So spring has sprung, and so have all the buyers that are looking. Majority of the cities here in the country don't have much in inventory, but have a ton of buyers because rates are still low. And so it's a great time to buy. So that's why it's really important to find the resources that are out there. Don't think that it's impossible. It is. It's just a matter of researching, ask the right questions, and you can make homeownership happen. Another tool to consider if you're buying solo or buying again, some banks, I haven't seen them lately, but they come out with their own in-house products that are driven by zip code. So it's good to ask, are they going to have an in-house product? Do they have anything zip code driven or census driven product? So it's still conventional, but they use FHA guidelines. You rarely hear them talk about that, but that's a good tool or idea to have in your back pocket to approach your bank with wherever you're banking. But I do find that lenders or mortgage brokers tend to shop for better deals than banks because standalone banks, brick and mortars, that's not their line of business because they're banking institutions and they're making monies off of the deposits. But every now and then they may have a census-driven in-house product that is conventional by terms, but tools are FHA related. We'll go to the next slide. Types of inventory is really important to talk briefly about and something to explore as you look at your life redesigned. So townhomes and condos, kind of lump them together a little bit in conversations because sometimes townhomes can be fee simple or condo. What does that mean? A condo townhome means that the guidelines set forth in the HOA documents are very similar to or exactly like that of a condo. So even though it's built like a townhome, it's 3 or 4 levels, it could be considered a condominium because of the way the bylaws are written. Now, there are some townhomes that are what they call fee simple. That means that there are no guidelines like a condominium association. You can treat your townhome just like a single family home in any old neighborhood. You get to do with the exterior what you like, as well as with your interior. There's no architectural review committee. So that's the upside. The downside is there are no controls and checks and balances, and you're very close to your neighbors. So that's something to be leery of. If you do find a fee simple community, I think the location where it's located matters a lot. So if you're close to a city center where the price points are a little bit higher and it's fee simple, more than likely you're going to have great neighbors who are going to do a really good job to maintain their properties. Therefore, you won't have problems and you don't have the extra expense of condo fees. Single family home, the second one here, is a great option to consider because you can do whatever you want. I've had a lot of buyers that say, I would rather not be confined by the rules and regulations of a condo community. I'd just rather be in a plain old neighborhood, and having a single family home is great for that. There may be some additions you like. I have one client who's looking to have a half basketball court and a pool in the back. That's his dream home, and that's what we're going to look for. We're going to find a neighborhood where there'll be no strict guidelines, only the city we have to deal with, and making that happen. Now, multifamily, why would I throw that on here? I threw multifamily on here because everybody's life redesign is going to be a little different in how they approach it. So I do have some women who are saying, you know what? I've always wanted to invest. It's a dream I have, but they realize the entry level to being able to invest is easier with multifamily. Why is that? Did you know that you can get a duplex, a triplex, or a quadruplex using an FHA loan or a traditional convention loan? Yeah, you can. As long as one of the units is vacant, they can consider it an occupied property. So can you imagine getting an investment property using an FHA loan, 3.5% down? Or conventional 3% down, dream come true. So I think it's a great way to get started if you haven't bought or it's your first home and it's just the two of you or you're a very small family and you think you can make it work. There's nothing like having someone else pay your mortgage or at least a majority of it. So that's the benefit of a life redesigned. If you're trying to save money, plan for retirement, a multifamily home is a great idea, having a duplex. The strategy could even be a single family home with a basement. As long as you have something on the premises that's income generating, that's a fantastic opportunity. Last but not least, I'm going to pop back up to condo. Condos can feel a little bit like apartments, but the advantage to condos is that there is close to no maintenance, and that's a lovely thing. And a lot of owners are looking for that where there's close to no maintenance at all. So I am living that lifestyle. I moved from a townhome, was 3,500 square feet to a condo, 1,200 square feet. It is a different lifestyle. There is less maintenance and I'm starting to enjoy it. So that's something to consider as you look at your life redesigned. Right. Now, empty nesters. I am part of that group. I've been part of that group for about a year now. And so I've got my empty nester badge. So that is an exciting time. I do miss the kids, but I like the privacy and least amount of space and least amount of maintenance. So those who look at empty nesting, as we see here, are looking to reduce the home size because children are gone and living independently. Now, I have some people that choose to go ahead and empty nest as an incentive to help their kids understand there is no room in the inn, that they have to work on being independent and finding their own space. So for a lot of folks, that is intimidating. And I have to admit, I was very afraid. To downsize from all this space, it takes time, takes a lot of planning, and it can be sometimes a financial burden. So you have to really plan it out. I did mine pretty quickly, just bit the bullet, moved forward, hired an organizer, helped me sift through 14, 15 years of living in that house. That takes time to go through everything, decide what you're going to keep, what you're going to get rid of, and then the reality of how small can I go and kind of make that small space work. So being an empty nester and planning it is definitely not an overnight process, but it's important to plan. And as you do that, consider finding some really good organizing services, someone who can work within your budget, work within your time frame, and help you figure out how to purge your life, from your paperwork to your clothing, tools. You may even have old pieces of furniture that you've loved. This could be the great time. And I do have resources to refer. You may want to have a lot at Christie's and maybe auction off some antique pieces or hand them down to the kids and help them realize, hey, I've certified this antique piece and this is part of my legacy I'm leaving to you. And if you ever have financial need, you have it certified so you could cash that in. So that's one of the benefits or some of the benefits of empty nesting. It's going to help you purge your life and get things in order and take care of things that you know you need to do, but you haven't had a chance to. It really pushes you forward to get those things done. Now, looking to relocate. Oops. Hey, Maggie.
No, I just wanted to jump on the screen and talk about how, you hired someone to help you organize all that stuff, which is so necessary, and a lot of people don't feel like they need to invest in or want to spend the money there. But my aunt actually just had to undo her whole parents' house, and it was 45 years of stuff that they just never went through and that they never moved, and now she's going through. So like from the kid perspective, if you're kicking us out, it's also great that you went through your house and sifted through that stuff, so it's not just all left there and collecting over the years. Because it's easy to do if it's the house that everyone grew up in or,
Yes.
You've been at just for years and years and years. So I really like how you brought up that point, because that's another really freeing thing that people think, I have too much stuff, but it's like, I don't need that stuff anymore. I can downsize because I don't need this anymore, and I don't need the whole house to be Halloween decor and everything. Like the kids wanted it. You know what I mean?
No, that is so true. And it's so in certain cultures around the country, and I want to say maybe in Poland, I hope I'm not getting the country incorrect, but there's some cultures where there is a point in your life where traditionally you're supposed to purge. You have to get rid of these things. And it's like no one wants to talk about death, but you kind of have to prepare because right now with COVID, anything can happen. And most people are so careful not to get it, and they have gotten it. And it's just been the worst feeling. And that's not the time where you want to like, oh my gosh, my house is not in order. So I still have a long ways to go, but a lot of it was just biting the bullet, taking what I need to take. The organizer helped me go through and doing the first layer of, okay, you have to get rid of this. You have to get rid of this. And something I learned from a gentleman about, you could have important pieces that could be given to your kids now versus being wheeled. You can free up the space, certify it. And sometimes these antique pieces, you'd be surprised they have value. True story. He has learned so he's gotten a certification how to identify those pieces. He eyed something he thought was a great investment, purchased it, and they have different levels of auctions at Christie's. He took a $1,200 purchase and will be able to make close to $7,000 off of it at the auction.
Wow.
So there are tools. So he learned when he worked with Architectural Digest that a lot of these kids, when they're putting down payments on their homes or buying a car, they show up to work and they're like under 25, under 30. He's like, how are you doing that? Oh yeah, I had this great dining room table. I really wanted to switch something out, and that was given to me that in case I needed something financially versus giving me money, this is another form of financial security for me. And they take the antique pieces and are able to cash them in. So I myself have identified pieces I like to collect, and now I'm waiting to get those certified because there's things I want to leave for the kids. So because my kids are not in, I have one child in the country in the military. The other is actually overseas, is an expat in South Korea. So when she comes back, the goal would be, okay, these will be your pieces. Once my son gets settled, these will be his pieces. And I no longer have to pay for that storage unit and the furniture is gone. Because, it does add up. It really does add up. But I think if you start now having a plan, even if you think today I'm not going to move, but today is the day to start preparing yourself when finances are right, you see the right house. It's easy to move forward when you have a plan in place, not
Right.
waiting till the last minute. I say plan now if you want to be an empty nester. Kids could be a sophomore or junior in high school. It's okay to start planning and ask them for things they want and things that they would like to keep. We had our son to go through all of his stuff, and it was surprising stuff he wanted and surprising what he didn't want. And we're able to purge everything else. I'll be honest, there's some things I want to keep, just as a mommy thing. It was my thing. But yeah, so I agree. And you bring up a really good point. Sometimes we're so caught in our stuff as the parent.
Mhm.
We're not thinking about the burden we're putting on the kids. And I just had 14 years of stuff. I could not imagine 45. I just could not.
People have amazing stuff, and some people hold on to more than others, so I have parents on both ends, and so it's just so funny. But I'm really glad you brought that up. And it is an important investment you should almost think about when you pull it into the moving plan, and buying a house and where all your funds can go. It's a good spot for your funds to go, as well as having someone help you organize and all that.
And then to that point about the funding, if you feel like, what, Terri, there's no way I could do that, or that doesn't seem to be really attainable for me, that's okay. Just starting out with a plan, or at least have somebody just to consult. A $50 consulting fee could definitely go a long way. It'll be $50 well spent. So I would definitely suggest at least having a consultant. They can start the organizing process, and then you just commit your time. That you're going to spend 5 hours a week. It could be, with a glass of wine, an hour every day, and then just give yourself 3 months. You'd be surprised you can get done in 3 months. And this is with the weather. It's been great. Spring came early. Get her done. And start with something small. Just do the closet and get rid of what you don't need, and then move to eventually the garage before summer. And before you know it, you'll be so ready to move. Or the benefit could be once you clear everything up, you may decide to stay.
True.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'll let you keep going now.
Okay, Dad. So we were talking about just reducing the size of the home, being an empty nester to cut your expenses. But also you could decide now that you're empty nesting to take care of parents. So for those of you out there that are having to consider that, I completely understand. My father's dementia has turned into a formal diagnosis of Alzheimer's. I am in Georgia. My sister's in Lower Alabama. My parents in North Alabama, and my brother's in Chicago. So as you see, we're spread out. How do we come up with a plan to support my mother to care for my dad? Well, part of that is who wants to relocate, or do they have the time to relocate? So because of my flexibility, if I don't relocate, then I will probably just work 2 or 3 days in one state and the other 4 or 5 days in the other state, just kind of a balancing act. But there are a lot of you out there that have considered or in a situation where, I have to either move in with them because I'm in the same city, it's more convenient, or we find a place together, or I have to relocate to be with them all together. And I've had friends and clients who've had to just pack up and move because that's the best solution. So back to Maggie's point, having a plan and looking at how you can finance all the pieces of it are really important. So again, it's not just I'm going to up and leave unless you're extremely organized and you purge your life every 5 years. If you haven't, now's the time. If you're concerned about your parents, now is the time to come up with a plan. If you had to move, could you do it? Or do you want to do it? And if you don't, what would you, or how would you help take care of them, at a distance? So, but most empty nesters, when the kids are gone, they feel like it's their time to get back to their parents. So some strategies for that is if you choose not to completely relocate, again, in the earlier slide about the multifamily, that's a great opportunity. Let's say you buy a second property as a multifamily in a city where your parent is living. Now you have a place to lay your head, and the other unit can either be an Airbnb or a long-term tenant. Either way, the asset you need to stay in while you care for your parents is being paid for, not out of your pocket, but by the tenant or the short-term rental that you have set up. So that's another option to consider. I know it's hard, though, finding real estate. It is tough. I am that person. I've chosen the latter, to look for something where it would have a long-term tenant on one side or a short-term rental, and that's been really tough. So now I've been reduced to Maybe I just need to look to be a tenant and find a place for rent until I can find the right piece of real estate in that city where my parents live. So that's another approach to take as you look at your empty nester lifestyle and how you can make it work for you, living your life redesigned through real estate. So now as we're looking at these empty nesting options, C is looking for the ideal place to retire. So let's say you don't have to worry about your parents, or your parents already have a plan in place. So that's nothing to worry about. Your parents are not here. They moved on to the life above. And so now you're kind of free to be mobile and do what you like to do. And this could be the time where you say, you know what? I would like to relocate. I've always wanted to live someplace different. My husband's top spot, which ended up being the number one spot consistently after I looked at different articles about the best places to move, would always came as number one. I think there's no one here surprised, Florida. Florida was number one. I think we all can agree that it probably had a lot to do with the weather, that it's nice and warm year round. We all know that snowbirds kind of descend upon that during the winter months. But the biggest piece of the pie, though, why it's such a popular place is because no state tax. So that's a huge plus. And then my husband's a fan of that as a retiring state. A lot of people look to it. The plus about that is because they have such a huge audience that they have a ton of senior communities that people could take advantage of to live in. So I think that's a fantastic thing. You have plenty of senior communities, which means you have plenty of hospitals or urgent cares, plenty of pharmacies, resort type lifestyles in these communities. So there's always something fun, exciting to do, and you can age in place and enjoy yourself. Now, what you see here to the left of the bottom picture are things that they look to consider as they try to rank the states: the cost of housing, the medical care, and state income tax, as I mentioned earlier. Now, the outside of Florida being consistently number one, everything else is kind of a toss-up. So I think that has a lot to do with who is writing the article, if they're endorsing a particular state. But it's surprising Virginia and West Virginia popped up between in the top 10 or 11. Same thing with Wyoming, I thought was interesting, and also Idaho. So those were not my top picks. I thought I'd probably see Texas because there's certain areas that are pretty warm year round. But no, I was surprised that these are some other states that came up as some great possibilities. What you have to do is decide what's important to you as you look to relocate. You know, these are definitely costs of housing, but also cost of food, cost of medical care, what taxes you have to pay, and the cost of utilities. Some states, they fluctuate. We heard what happened in Texas when that, I believe it was a hurricane came through. It's the only state where they have a nonprofit agency for utilities. And it was an unfortunate way to learn about how bad that could be for someone to have a nonprofit as an organization for your utilities. So it's important to weigh all the options, look at what's important to you. And also a factor is how far are your kids? You want to look at, would your kids be able to access you, get close to you if something were to happen in case of emergency, which is why I didn't never move too far away from Alabama. I'm a 3.5 hour drive. So if anything happens with my dad's Alzheimer, you know, I can do day trips. That's realistic. So that's something to consider. You may decide to look at retirement. And if you're just a state away, as long as you can get back for a day trip, it's still a good choice to make. Now we're going to get to the next slide and look at if you decide to become an expat. I am the parent of an expat who just loves touring the world. This is her break between college, her undergrad, and graduate school. And my daughter, I think to date, has done 35 countries. So she's having a chance to look at the world, and she's deciding where she thinks I should retire. So I thought that was interesting. Now, what you're looking at this list, ladies, is pretty consistent by a majority of the articles. And Costa Rica tends to come up number one. Panama tends to come up number two. Mexico, number three, and so on. I was surprised to see France in the top 10. France and Malta. Malta usually comes up number 9, and Vietnam has been number 10. So it's interesting that a lot of these are Spanish-speaking countries at the very top and the diversity at the very bottom. But France was definitely very surprising to me to come up on the list. Why is Costa Rica and Panama, Mexico, the top 3 consistently? It is definitely that cost of living. Costa Rica, for a couple, all expenses in, 2,000 a month, everything all in, 2,000 a month. So that's fantastic. $24,000 a year. That's easy to budget, live comfortably, eat well, have people come in and take care of you, offer services such as cleaning your space, preparing your food. It's a great lifestyle to have. So that's something to definitely consider. And the other thing you'd be surprised is the healthcare. So your healthcare is extremely important. And so the cost of healthcare in these countries, that's been factored in. It's very affordable. And they have everything from cardiologists, specialists, internal organ specialists, everything you need as you're aging. They have those specialties there. So these countries are becoming built or building themselves to take care of baby boomers that are looking to retire. So excited about those options that people have. And the key, though, I think, which makes Costa Rica attractive, is that if something were to happen stateside, it doesn't take too long to get back home. I think that's something else to factor in, the difference from home, because we all still have friends and family here in the States who want to visit, but just knowing that you can easily get to someone in case something happens is very important. And get to the next slide. Upsizing your dream house. We're going to talk about that. That is such a fun thing and a fun conversation, just as much as, empty nesting, how to prepare to downsize. Well, upsizing is just as much fun. All the fun furniture you can pull in and all the fun things to do in that space. So the first reason, and this comes up a lot with clients when we're upsizing, we're looking for full basements. We're looking for homes with 2 masters. It's because they want mom or dad or auntie or uncle or grandparent to come and live with them. I would say for the last 5 years, for I would say 60% of my clients, that tends to be a conversation just in case this may be a possibility. I need a space for this family member to come in and I can care for them. So it can be a ranch home, a home, 2-story home with a basement. It can have a different look, but it has to be the right look for who? For you. What kind of lifestyle are you wanting to have as you have a parent come in? Also, having a space for a caregiver is a really important thought to have. I'm learning that sometimes it's extremely important to have a well-qualified caregiver to come in. They've either seen or know how to care for someone that has a special situation, and you need them because sometimes the main caregivers, it could be yourself or your parent spouse, they get exhausted. They need a break. And having extra space where someone can come in for 24 hours or 2 or 3 days, so you can take a trip or you can just step out for a minute and take care of yourself is very important. So as you look to plan and care for them, you plan and care for yourself, the space should reflect that. And go to the next slide. I have some families that love, love, love a generation family lifestyle with everybody under one roof. So what does that look like? Definitely, as I mentioned earlier, a 2-story home on a full basement, be it finished or unfinished, or what we call here in Atlanta, carriage homes. Carriage homes could be the space built above a 2-car, 3-car garage apartment, or an apartment above the garages. Could be a carriage home, usually because there's a water spout somewhere on the outside. There's water for the exterior for gardening. You could use that plumbing line to create bathrooms upstairs above the garage. So that's a great opportunity. And definitely when you find a home with a full basement, that's important, full, not partial, because it tends to be the square footage of the main floor. So let's say the main floor is 1,500, 2,000 square feet. That bottom level is going to be the same. That's bigger than my condo. So it's enough space for 2 or 3 people to live, to have kitchen, bedroom, and sitting area. I've had a lot of folks who've said, they let their parent in and the parent is able-bodied to take care of themselves. They just need an apartment close by, and then their parent's okay. But I think that's a fun way, the easy way to take care of the parent. The parent can move in and get settled. And as they age, there's enough room to bring a caregiver in. So I love the idea of generational family lifestyle where everybody's helping everybody out, and there's plenty of room for everybody to live and not go crazy. Last but not least on the upsizing is just finding the home you've always dreamt about. I have gated community and golf course. You probably think they're the same, but sometimes you have that gated community that may not have the golf course amenity, but it just could be resort style a little bit in the lifestyle. But just find the right kind of community that's for you. Some people just want something gated to feel secure, have a guard man. They want 10,000 square feet. And lately, because there's not much land, I'm finding more and more smaller gated communities, or they refer to them as enclaves. They may have 5 or 10 houses with a lot of square footage, but it's a small gated community. Now, golf course communities could be golf course, tennis, swim, all those fun things where you get to go know your neighbors, or you can meet at the dining hall on site of the clubhouse in the community, meet for a round of golf, maybe do the first 9, the back 9 before or after work. Also meet for tennis. That's a great lifestyle to have, where when you come in, you're living your best life every day with great neighbors and your family's enjoying it as well. Another I'm starting to see has become very popular is high rises. Some people love the high rise lifestyle. And I think that's because a lot of baby boomers, or Generation Xers especially, are really loving the walkability of being in the city. And if they can walk to restaurants, theater, to parks, it's a fantastic lifestyle to have. It keeps you active. For a person who loves being around people, it's a great active lifestyle to have without the maintenance. But you have all these great views to wow your friends when they came over. And you have these great amenities in these buildings with the doormen who are 24 hours. They grab your packages. They let your guest up. They're greeting you every day. I love it. My building has a concierge where they say, "Welcome home. I hope you had a great day." I just love that. Somebody just looking out for me. So some people really love that lifestyle. So whatever that is, whatever it looks like, start planning that for you. Pick that lifestyle, that home you've always dreamed about. It doesn't have to be big. It's just whatever brings you bliss. So you see a tree behind me. I love this tree. My decorator selected this because right now I'm in a stage in my life as I've aged to live my life like it's golden. So I've got this golden tree behind me, as you see, ladies, and I want you to live your life like it's golden. As you look at picking the right kind of home for your lifestyle to live the best life for you, that's a life design through real estate. Thank you so much, ladies.
That was great, Terri. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Any questions about anything? Throw it out there. There's no crazy question. We're game. We're open.
We'll see what people throw in here. Someone was wondering, do you know about the crime in Costa Rica?
That's a good question. Yeah, the crime in Costa Rica. I've been there, not had any problems, but it's definitely important to get with your consulate. So I would get with the embassy there to confirm, but we've had no problems with crime. A matter of fact, when I've gone to visit with other people, they tend to have their own set of drivers. So I've been fortunate to be with folks who are like, "Oh, I have a person. He's going to meet us at the airport." So I was really nervous during COVID, but the driver was tested, our cook was tested, and we all stayed in the same house. And the house was designed so the cook had her quarters. There's a place for our driver to stay, and we're together for like 5 days. I loved it. Loved it. Yeah. So it took me on a tour. So I think it's important to not only look at the crime with COVID. They're very strict in these countries about the quarantining and all of that. So I think that's also how they work with and control diseases is very important as well.
That's a great point. There's so much to consider about your age, your health, your family, where they are. So there's a lot of moving variables, but it sounds like if you dream it, you can believe it.
Yes, you can dream it. You can actually have it. It's like make a call, do the research, and then anybody out there, feel free to call my phone number. I think it'll be posted, as well as my email address is across the screen. I can actually, being with my connections through Leading RE, we can find real estate agents for you across the world in these different countries that can meet with you or give you advice on how to find that home for you, retirement home. And I have friends, actually, they were doing Panama, and they had decided when their kids were little that they already know they're going to Panama and have their home as a timeshare now that they will retire in.
Oh, that's a nice dream. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
my Dr. Barb always joked that she's going to run away to Tahiti. I'm like, you don't even know where Tahiti is.
By herself, right?
Yeah, just away from us kids. But yeah, that's what's really great about, even though you are in Georgia and do the Georgia, Atlanta area, you have connections all over the country and all over the world. So if
That's
people do
correct.
want to talk to you or someone like you, who you would give a great referral to, people can contact you even if they don't live there, and you can help them connect with other people.
Sure.
So I think
I'm
this was
sorry.
a great overview of different options you can have when you're, redesigning your life, no matter where you are or who's with you on that journey.
Mm-hmm.
So it's super fun. We thank you so much, Terri, for being here today on our Money Monday.
Thank you.
And empowering us with all this. And so you can always reach Terri at terri.copeland@harrynorman.com. She's also one of our Purse Strings approved professionals, so she has her page on pursestrings.co. So we want to thank everyone for joining us today, and we will be back here again next week at 10:30 Central for another Money Monday.
Thank you, ladies, and have a great rest of the week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.